Hi golfers, Nick here from GOLFTEC Singapore. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on golf tips. This week we're going to continue our theme. Over the last few weeks we're looking at the GOLFTEC Swing Tru Motion Study. Last week we talked a bit about the shoulder tilt, week before we talked about the hip sway. Both of those were focused on the top of the backswing, also known as P4. Today we're actually going to look at shoulder bend at P9. So first of all I'm just going to explain to you what P9 is. So I'm just going to draw my golfer here just to give you guys a little bit of an idea. So I've talked about this last couple of weeks. So there's my swing center, there's my grid. So the setup position, we call this P1. Last 2 weeks we've focused on the top of the backswing, which is known as P4. P7 is impact, P8 is right arm parallel, and then P9 is basically when the club gets into the finished position. So here at GOLFTEC we have a system, we measure the golf swing using these sensors at 9 different positions throughout the golf swing and relate them to what the best players do in the golf swing. So the study this week is looking at the shoulder bend, so you can see the picture I've got here. So you've got the golfer on the left, he's representing what the 30 handicappers do. So we're looking at how the back bends. So we're going to look at the sense on the back of the shoulders, which you can see I've got on the back here. So this is basically, at setup you'll be measured into a forward bend. So see how this is leaning forward. When we can look at the analysis afterwards, we can see it's a forward bend at setup. The top of the backswing, this sensor actually goes to 0 as we extend, then it goes back into flexion as we hit through impact, and then on the finish that sensor should be somewhere around 30 degrees back. That's what the best players do. So as they go through, they're extending their body and actually pushing their hips through. You can see on the picture here, not only is this bend more forward as his player's gone through, instead of extending the body or extending the spine, he's actually not moving his hips through, and that's kind of quite important as well. So we're going to look at what the high handicappers do, what the pros do. I'm going to hit some shots. Today we're going to do a bit of a study. We're going to hit 5 shots with both swings, then we're going to analyse them, take a look at the data, see what the difference is. So for this study I'm going to hit 5 shots, trying to attempt both swings. So I'm going to do the 30 handicapper backward bend and the pro backward bend. We're going to look at data using quad. We've got Pro V1 golf balls. So basically you can see behind me in the screens we've got the bottom one, this is going to show us the motion measurement, and the top one's going to show us the ball data on the quad. When we sit down afterwards, we're actually going to analyse the first swing from each set of golf balls. So we're going to hit 5 of each swing. We've got Pro V1s, so we've got the grid set up. So the first swing will be the one we're going to analyse, and then we're going to look at the ball data from all the others. So the first one will be sort of the pro backward bend, so let's attempt that first. So that's my first attempt there with sort of trying to get close to the pro backward bend. See the ball foot on the screen. It's actually pretty much finished on the line. So about 170, just quickly looking at the ball data. So club head speed 92, par 3 degrees into out, sort of 5.7 degrees downwards. So let's move on now, let's hit the next ball. So you see me hit the 5 shots there with the pro backward bend. Let's try and do the 30 handicapper. Okay, so we hit some pretty good shots there with the pro bend. Let's hit the high handicapper bend now. It's not going to be as easy this. So again, we're going to look at the first swing I do here on the motion measurement. So I'm going to try and do a normal backswing, but forward swing is going to feel like I'm pushing or keeping my chest downwards. So rather than extending to the finish with the chest up, it's going to feel like I'm going forward and with less hip slide as well. So we're going to see what the data looks like with this sort of forward bend like the high handicapper. So it felt like I exaggerated that, it felt like I didn't move my weight through. The contact sounded a lot steeper, like I could really felt like I hit the bottom of the mat there. It's not gone as far. So actually hit the ball pretty straight there, but distance nowhere near as far. The angle of attack is looking like it's downwards quite a lot. That last one 8 degrees. Par pretty good. Contact higher on the face. Let's sit down now and look at that data in a bit more detail. So some interesting results there. It's going to be interesting to look at the video. It's going to be interesting to look at that data. Definitely saw a difference in sort of the contact and the distance the shots went. So first thing we're going to do is just stick a line on the hip there. On the left it's my before swing, which was with the pro backward bend, and then the high handicap on the right. You can see the numbers on the screen virtually the same, so I've set up exactly the same. We take it to the top of the backswing. Again, numbers very similar. I know on the one on the right I was going to be leaning into the shot on the way back down, so maybe it affected a couple of these parameters, but a very similar sort of top of the backswing. And you'll see very similar sort of numbers here at impact. Now, one thing you might notice here is the hip sway. So the one on the left, I'm actually moving my hips to a green number, which is where the tour players are. Now yellow is sort of not so good. I haven't moved my hips far enough forward. If you look at my feet, you can see I've probably got more weight on my left side in the pro swing. That's me driving my hips through. That's really important with the backward bend, that you do actually move the hips through. That's going to help shallow the strike as well. If we just move into the finish. So this is the position we're looking at, position 9 in the finish with the forward bend. So shoulder bend was 3 degrees back on the right hand side, which was sort of the high handicappers, right bang in line with where they are, and 36 for the pro swing. So I've almost hit those numbers absolutely spot on to where they should have been. Just notice hip sway. So you can see I've kept my weight on the back foot, and this one on the right. You see this a lot with a lot of the high handicappers, almost trying to steer the ball forward, and they don't move the hips through. Interesting result here as well, the shoulder sway number is very similar. So the sensor on the back of my shoulder is in a similar place. It's just that I haven't extended my spine and pushed my hips through like I did in the pro swing. So you could probably look at this study and look at actually the hip sway that relates into the way that the shoulder moves and the extension of the spine. But I just thought I just want to analyse that just to give you guys a little bit of an idea. Let's take a look at that data, see what the difference was. So just to finish up here, I just want to take a quick look at the data that we got from these 2 different types of swings. So I hit 5 shots with both. Thought it'd be quite a good comparison. You've seen the difference in the swing. So first of all, just take a look at the ball flight data. So average carry distance with the pro backward bend was 166 compared to 130 carry with the forward bend. So a big difference in distance. The ball speed was 98 with the forward bend compared to 120 with the backward bend. So that's more like in line with where my sort of normal sort of ball speed would be. The launch angle was lower at 16 with the forward bend compared to around 20 with the backward bend. And then as a result, the ball flight consistency was very similar in terms of backswing. If you look at the data here, you can see the backward bend all around sort of the 7,000 mark. With the forward bend, it was dropped down to around about 5,500. So less spin, lower launch with the forward bend. It probably had more roll, but it was a lower ball flight and it didn't have enough speed. So moving on to the club data, 92 miles an hour average club speed with the backward bend compared to 82, so a drop of 10 miles an hour. You saw very similar swings up until impact, just that moving through impact with the forward bend, I was tending to lean into it. This is what gave me a sort of steeper angle attack. So the angle attack with the forward bend was around 8 degrees average compared to 5.7 with my sort of standard backward bend as I went through. The club path's not changed too much. You can see the data on the screen here, but certainly the efficiency of the shot was a lot better with the backward bend. There's more speed, there's less angle of attack. You can also see the strike pattern as well. I'll put the club data up on the screen so you can see the difference here. So with the forward bend, the ball, the strike on the ball was a lot higher on the face. Even though the ball went lower, the ball came off higher on the face. That first shot I hit, you heard me say I felt like it was a steeper angle attack. I felt like I hit right at the bottom of the mat. Felt like the ball came off. So if you're creating big steep divots, you've probably got too much forward bend in your swing. I see that a lot. It makes it hard to control the low point. It makes it hard to control the contact. It makes it hard to create power, and more importantly, hard to create consistency and good golf shots. So golfers, hope you enjoyed the video there. I enjoyed doing that one. It was a really good sort of test just to see the difference between the backward bend and the forward bend. Any questions on that, post them in the box below. If you don't already, please follow me on my other social media platforms, and we'll see you again next week for another edition of the Swing Tru Motion Study at GOLFTEC.